Margaret had always believed the universe whispered before it shouted. That signs arrived not in thunderclaps, but in flickers, a feeling, a feather, a sudden gust of wind through a closed window. So when the squirrel appeared on her kitchen windowsill one rainy morning, she paused. It didn't run away like usual. Instead, it stared at her, tail twitching, as if trying to say something. Then, it darted off into the hedges. Later that week, a dove flew into her garden and refused to leave. It perched on the fence post outside her sunroom, cooing softly, day after day. Margaret mentioned both incidents to her sister during their weekly call. "Don't chase them off," her sister said. "I read something the other day about animals showing up as signs of abundance. Some cultures say certain creatures bring wealth with them. You just have to notice." Margaret laughed, but the idea stuck. And then, as days passed, more creatures came. Strange ones, timely ones. She started keeping a list. 1. The squirrel. It came back. Several times, always in the morning, always quiet. It didn't beg for food or dig in the garden. It just watched. Margaret read that squirrels symbolized resourcefulness and preparation. In some folklore, they represented financial foresight, planning ahead. That week, an old pension plan she'd long forgotten about sent her a letter. She had been underpaid, and a retroactive check was on its way. 2. The dove. Still there, still calm, still watching. Margaret had grown fond of it. Doves, she learned, represented peace and new beginnings, but also, in some traditions, prosperity. The arrival of a dove meant stability and comfort were coming. The following weekend, her nephew, who rarely visited, stopped by with his fiancée. They asked if they could be married in her garden. They'd pay for the landscaping and everything. Margaret smiled. A fresh beginning, sure, but also unexpected help for a garden she couldn't afford to maintain. 3. The cat. It wasn't hers. A glossy black cat showed up at her doorstep one evening and sat like it owned the place. She offered milk, but it didn't drink. It stayed until dawn, then disappeared. In ancient Egyptian lore, cats were protectors of fortune. In Japanese culture, a visiting cat was a sign of upcoming luck, especially financial. 2 days later, her vintage teapot, long tucked away in a cabinet, sold at auction for 10 times what she expected. A collector from overseas had stumbled on the listing by accident. 4. The frog. Margaret nearly stepped on it. A small green frog had appeared on her front steps after a storm. She gently moved it into the garden. Frogs, she discovered, symbolized transition and abundance in many Asian cultures. Their presence was believed to bring renewal and financial gain. The next week, her energy bill dropped significantly due to a citywide efficiency rebate program. She hadn't even applied. Someone had enrolled her automatically through her electric company. 5. The spider. Margaret hated spiders, but this one, small and gold-colored, spun a delicate web in the corner of her sunroom. She resisted the urge to swat it. Later that evening, she looked it up. Spiders, especially golden or orb weavers, are seen in many cultures as weavers of fate and fortune. A spider spinning near your home is said to weave wealth. She left the web alone. The following morning, a letter arrived. A long-lost cousin had passed and left Margaret a modest inheritance, enough to renovate her bathroom, which had needed repairs for years. March 6. The lizard. Margaret spotted it on her garden wall, a small green lizard basking in the sun. It watched her water the roses. In Caribbean and African folklore, lizards are messengers of change, often tied to dreams and unexpected gifts. That night, Margaret dreamed of her late husband for the first time in years. In the dream, he handed her a key. The next day, while cleaning out old boxes in the attic, she found an envelope tucked into a forgotten coat pocket. Inside were savings bonds, decades old, now worth several $1,000s. 7. The dragonfly. It hovered over her pond, iridescent and fast. She stood still as it circled her, then darted away. Dragonflies symbolize transformation, lightness, and prosperity in many indigenous cultures. Their appearance is tied to clarity and progress. That week, Margaret received word that a manuscript she had submitted years ago and assumed rejected had been found by a new editor. They wanted to publish it as part of a local history anthology. It wouldn't make her rich, but it brought her pride. Visibility. The kind of wealth that doesn't go in a bank. 8. The owl. It came late at night. Perched on the power line across from her house, its silhouette clear against the moon. Owls can mean many things: wisdom, mystery, warning. But in some traditions, especially in parts of Africa and the Mediterranean, an owl near your home can signal a protective force guarding your fortune. That week, scammers tried to hack her bank account. But her grandson, a software engineer, caught it during a routine visit and helped her lock everything down. The owl didn't appear again. 9. The ants. One morning, she noticed a neat trail of ants outside her kitchen door. At first, she went to get the spray, but something stopped her. Ants, she read, are symbols of diligence, teamwork, and stored abundance. In many cultures, they appear when it's time to build, invest, or reap rewards from consistent effort. Inspired, Margaret finally organized her handmade crafts and quilts into an online store, something her neighbors had been encouraging her to do for years. Within a month, she had orders from across the country, enough income to cover her bills, with some left over. Margaret never told anyone the full list. She knew it sounded silly, but in her heart, she believed every creature had been a message, not a promise of riches, but a whisper from the universe. Be open. Don't swat the signs away. Watch, listen. She still kept the web in the sunroom. The frog returned now and then. The dove still came on quiet mornings. And Margaret, surrounded by her quiet, watchful visitors, felt something better than rich. She felt ready.